Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Hugo, and today we're going to see what's going to be the best stocks for this week. We're going to also have a look on the SP500 and also on the Bitcoin, so stay around. So you're going to start the week with the ticker OMF, One Main Holdings Inc. This is one of the tickers that we have with the highest dividend yield for this week with 9.56%. They are quite interesting ticker. Although it's one of the tickers that went down in the past week. This is the graph that we see here in the image. They went down quite a lot in the past week. It's a dividend that pays quarterly, February, May, August, and November, and they are undervalued in 64.1%, which is quite a lot. Well, comparing to the others, all the market went down. Although it's been quite normal, some of the stocks being undervalued, but this went down a lot, and we still have 64.1%. Which give us a lot of room to grow. The ex-dividend date is on the 5th of August, so we still have plenty of time to buy until the end of the week, but I do recommend you to buy as soon as possible if you want to buy this stock, because you need at least 2 or 3 days for it to process your order in order to receive the dividends. In terms of financial health, they fail in all indicators except the short-term liabilities, where they have, in terms of assets, around 17 billion, and in terms of liabilities, 50 million. So we have a big gap. They have a lot of money in cash available, which is quite interesting. So they have a lot to invest if they need. In terms of the market sentiment, we have a strong buy and a future growth of 3.3%. With the past performance 35.5%, we have quite of good indicators here. There's to be a quite interesting stock to buy. In terms of the financial health score being low, I won't be so scared, because in terms of assets, they are quite strong comparing to the liabilities, with almost none. In terms of the financial health, I won't be so scared regarding the score. They have a big gap between assets and liabilities. They have a lot of money, and I do think in the next quarter this may shift. Some of the indicators may shift, and I do think we really see here a better result on the financial health for the next quarter. Having this in consideration, I do think this could be a good stock to buy for this quarter. Next ticker, it's MLPX. It's one of the tickers that I spoke in my channel before. It's one of the tickers that has a high dividend yield comparing to ExxonMobil, Chevron, or Shell, or even BP. And this has a really high dividend yield. The others are rose around the 4 to 5%. This has 8.67%. They pay quarterly, February, May, August, and November, and they are undervalued 37.7%, where the ex-dividend date is going to be on the 4th of August. We still have time to buy, but it needs to be today if you want to have this stock on your portfolio. And in terms of the financial health, we have a score of 5 of 6, where they fell on the reduction debt. So in terms of assets, they have around 14 billion, and in terms of liabilities, 2.8 billion. So they have between assets and liabilities a difference of 1 billion. We still have a market sentiment of a buy, and the future growth is quite small. It's only 1%, and the past performance was 17.2%. This is one of the companies that have stagnated a bit. They have a big growth in the past of 17.2%. This year is not going to be great, but they are still undervalued 37.7%, which is good. Have in consideration the increase of the energy that I've been seeing in the past 2 days, weeks per se. They are still in a good position. If we're going to compare this with Chevron, BP, or Exxon, probably those companies are going to be overvalued, where this is still undervalued 37.7%. So if you don't have any other energy company in your portfolio, this could be one of the good stocks to have on your portfolio. I did have this in consideration in the past, but the performance weren't good, the future growth wasn't good, and I decided to go to other companies. Although my portfolio was around 17% in the past, and I sold Chevron. Unfortunately, I sold before the war, so I didn't caught the big increase that they had. Now But anyway, I don't cry for that. They are still good companies, and they are now overvalued, so I won't buy them at the moment. And this probably I will for it. The next ticker is going to be Sun, SUN, with a Sonoco LP. They have a dividend yield of 8.37%. It's quite high of a dividend yield. They pay quarterly February, May, August, and November. They are undervalued 20.7%, and the ex-dividend is going to be on the 5th of August. So we have time until the end of the week. The financial health is a 5 of 6. They also don't comply with the reduction debt, where in terms of assets they have around 12 billion, and in terms of liabilities around 17 billion. But having in consideration this is insurance, having a big liabilities are quite normal in this sector. In terms of the market sentiment, we have a buy, and the future growth we have a 21.8%, which is quite good. And having these two indicators, the future growth and being undervalued 20% is almost 40% in total. So I think we have here a really big margin to grow, although the past performance was 3.5%. Let's see what's going to happen next quarter. But for this quarter, this company seems to have all indicators to be a good company to be in our portfolio, and we probably could cash in a lot, not only with this future growth, but being undervalued of 20% and with a big dividend yield of 8.34%. Besides the increase this company had during this week, we still probably be in a good position to buy this company. But so far, basing on all the indicators that we have here, this is a good stock to have on our portfolio if you don't have any insurance on your watch list or portfolio. The next ticker, it's one of the stocks that I have for a long time. It's the ET Energy Transfer. They have a dividend yield of 8.23%. They are still undervalued 51.4%. The same thing as MLPX. The ex-dividend date is going to be on the 5th of August. And the financial health score is a bit worse than MLPX. They only fail on the long-term liabilities, the debt covered, and the debt reduction. But having in consideration they have 15 billion assets and 13 billion in liabilities, I do think they can do a shift on this because they have a lot of cash in hand, and they could be change the indicators on the next quarter. We still have a market sentiment overhold and a future growth of 4.5%, which is quite interesting. Although energy sector has been increased a lot in the past weeks, and we still see here this in the graph with a future growth of 4.5%. This is a good indicator. As we see here, we had a past performance of 20%. So this also have everything to be a good stock to have on our portfolio. I still have it, and I still continue to have it. I don't want to increase too much of exposure on the energy sector. I still have a lot. I have ET, I have British Petroleum, I have other stocks. So that's why I don't want to go for a MLPX, because I have already a big exposure, and I don't want to increase that exposure around 15%. I don't want to go for a 17% as I had in the past with Chevron, for example. The next ticker is going to be also in the energy sector, ETRN, Equitrans Midstream Corp. They have a dividend yield of 8.20%. They pay quarterly February, May, August, and November. They are undervalued 67%, and the ex-dividend rate is going to be on the 2nd of August. So you won't have time to buy this one because it's going to be tomorrow, although it could be a stock to have on your watch list for the next quarter. In terms of financial health, we have a 3 of 6, where they also fail on the long-term liabilities, debt reduction, and debt level. They have, in terms of assets, around 300 million. In terms of liabilities, 207 million. It's not much, but in terms of volume, is quite low. Bear in mind, this is a stock on the middle cap, is not a high cap like ET, for example. And what it means that this company may see more oscillation in terms of the stock price. Although we still have a market sentiment of a buy, and we have a future growth of 38.8%, which is quite good. As you've seen here, the past performance was awful with a 52.1%, and it was not good actually. I think I did mention this stock several times in my videos, and I do recall that the performance wasn't great. That's why I had always some reservations regarding this stock. But seems like now the future growth is 38.8%, which is almost 40%. Is quite good. And in terms of the undervalued, it's 67%, which is great, even with the big increase that they had during this week. The next ticker is going to be LAZ, Lazard. It's one of the tickers on the financial sector. They have a dividend yield of 5.43%, lower than we had before, lower than the stocks that we've seen before. They pay quarterly February, May, August, and November. They are undervalued 44%, and the ex-dividend date is going to be on the 5th of August. The financial health is 2 of 6, meaning that they fell on the long-term liabilities, debt reduction, interest coverage, and debt level. In terms of assets, they have around 3.97 billion, and in terms of liabilities, around 300 million. Having in consideration this stock in the financial sector, liabilities, it's not quite, actually it's quite interesting, it's quite low comparing to the assets. Usually in the companies in the financial sector, the liabilities are quite high, but this one it's not. So that's why it's not in. It's actually one of the good indicators that I have. The market sentiment, we have of a hold, and in terms of the future growth of 12.7 minus 12.7%. This is not great actually. And the past performance, we have a 6% increase. So having this future growth of 12.7%, although being undervalued in 44%, I do think this could be a risk to invest in this company, because the dividend yield doesn't cover this future growth being negative, and we may see the stock go for a 6% of being undervalued, or probably may go a little bit down. Bear in mind, this is investment banking and brokerage. What could happen here is, if you're going to see another crisis, stock crisis on mortgages, this stock may increase. But now, since we no longer foreseeing a market crash, probably this stock will remain the same. Otherwise, if we see a market crash, mortgages may increase, mortgage not going to be paid, and the future growth may be impacted as well and increase a bit. So I will have some reservations regarding the stock. I already spoke a few stocks here for this week, which are quite interesting. This I'll have, for me, it's quite of middle risk because of the future growth being negative. The next ticker is also in the financial sector, Mullins and Company, MC. They have a dividend yield of 5.33%. They pay quarterly February, May, July, and November. They are undervalued 44.4%. The ex-dividend is going to be on the 5th of August. And we have a score of 3 of 6, exactly the same thing as Lazard, the ticker that we've seen before. They pay, the market sentiment is a hold, and the future growth is minus 19.8%, which is worse than the previous one. Although the past performance was greater here, and the stock also increased during this week, but the market had increased a lot during this week, so I won't take this with a grain of salt. If I not recommending Lazard this even more, I'm not recommending this because of the future growth being quite negative, although the are being undervalued 44%, but this is going to be a bit risky, like the others. I think we have less risk on the others that I mentioned than this one and Lazard. The next ticker is going to be BBD, Branco Bradesco. Why I did put this ticker here, it's because it is a ticker that pays monthly, although the dividend yield is 3.40%, but it's better than any other stock that we have on the sector of banking, where it pays a dividend yield monthly. This is not usual, and it's quite interesting stock. That's why, although they didn't reach the 5% of dividend yield, it's only 3.4, but I've put it mentioned here because I think it's a quite interesting stock. It's one of the biggest banks in Brazil, and they are spread all around the world. Comparing this to any other bank, like Bank of America, JP Morgan, whatever, those banks that pay lower dividend yield. Some of them not even pay any kind of dividend yield, and this pays with a relatively high dividend yield and monthly, which is one of the things that I really like. They are undervalued in 48.3%. The ex-dividend is going to be on the 2nd of August, but since this is monthly, you don't need to wait for the next quarter, so you can buy right now and receive on the next month. The financial health, it's 5 of 6, where the level of debt is quite high, where they have around 400 billion in assets and around 900 billion in liabilities. Bear in mind this is real, so not dollar. Dollar going to be around 40 billion and 90 billion in dollars, maybe kind of. It's not quite a really good conversion. Anyway, the market sentiment is going to be a buy, and the future growth, we have a 6.6 of future growth, which is good, and the past performance is 4.5%. So I do think this is a great stock to have on your portfolio. I did have the intention to buy this one, but then I have other stocks on my watch list, like EMB. It's one of the tickers ETFs that are quite increasing a lot in the past, and I'm trying to get in again. I did have the EMB in the past, but that EMB has now dividend yield of 5%, and other stocks that has a higher dividend yield than this one. And I don't want to get into the banking sector because I don't know what's going to happen until December, if we going to see a market crash or whatever, and this may be quite affected because people will be stopped paying mortgages and loans, and that's going to be a big crisis, and the bank's going to be quite affected, and that's why I'm not trying to get in too much on the banking sector. Last but not least is one of the stocks that I spoke every single month. It's Main Street Capital, now with a dividend yield of 5.88%, where the ex-dividend is going to be on the 1st of August. In terms of the last week markets, we saw here the Nasdaq with a big increase. Actually, my portfolio got a big impact due to the fact that I've invested on TQQ. It's one of the stocks that I have on my portfolio, where it's indexed into the Nasdaq. It's a leverage multiplied by 3, so they increase 3 times, so increase around 15% when the Nasdaq increased 4%. This is a good. It was a good investment in the past, and I've bought it when they were down. But this means that we are still buying undervalued. So what we are seeing here means that we are buying undervalued. The market it's still being good to buy. For example, as UK, we are now oversold. We are buying too expensive at the moment. So if you want to invest in, this is a good indicator to see where should I invest in, American companies or US companies or European companies. As you can see here, the European companies are undersold, and the Chinese even more, where the Chinese has minus 1.83% of decrease. This is bad for me because I have two big stocks. One is Alibaba and the other one is a ETF, which is MG, indexed to the Chinese market, where it includes a lot of companies like Tencent, Alibaba, and others. In terms of the sectors, we can see here that the energy sector had an increase of 10.22%. It was one of the biggest increases that we've seen so far before the war, but they are now overvalued. They are overselling the market now. The market now is being expensive per se. One of the markets as well that increased a bit and is become quite interesting is the semiconductors, which are being undersold, and we see here also has the energy sector being oversold. We see here utilities as well being oversold, although with an increase of 6.51%. So I will say that for this week probably it's going to be good to invest in the financial sector, because we are being buying quite cheap at the moment. In terms of the heat map, in the past week we had a big increase. We have an overall green, which we don't see for a while, and we have here Meta being quite effective with -8%. This is due to several factors. They trying to cut off in some employees. They're trying to rearrange the company, and it's not being good at all. Let's see what's going to happen for the next quarter. In terms of Microsoft and Google, we are still in a good place. Apple as well. Berkshire Hathaway really good. Amazon had a really big increase comparing to the others. Was one of the days was increasing like 12%, which was quite good. And we see here the energy sector being in the overall quite increasing quite a lot, with Chevron around 12% and ExxonMobil around 10%. Okay, now let's have a look into the SP500 and the Bitcoin. So during this week we see here a breakout of around the 4,000s. We are going now to a good path. I put this here as the new resistance. Let's see if we have continue to grow, but probably going to go into this phase, or probably we have a breakout up. The MACD doesn't tell you much. We may see continuing growth. We don't see here now a curve going down, facing a downtrend, a bear market. We still in a bull market so far. Let's see what's going to happen during this week, but I do believe we may continue to break out towards the 4,250. Let's see if we're going to do something like this, or we're going to continue up. Let's see. This still, I have some reservations here. We don't have any consolidation as we seen here, for example, or here in the past, a growth, mature growth. We are still going up and down quite a lot. But the good thing is now the new support is around the 3,400 or the 4,000, which could be a good indicator. In terms of the Bitcoin, we are quite seeing the same trend as the SP500. We have here a big increase, but comparing to the SP500, we have a more consolidated environment than the SP500. This may see some consolidation, may continue to increase, although those indicators are quite close to each other. We may see a fall in the next upcoming week. We are doing now the downtrends, so probably at the beginning of the week we may see Monday, Tuesday. Well, Monday it's holidays in some countries. Monday, Tuesday we may see a downtrend and then an uptrend towards the end of the week. But although we still need to reach the 30,000 resistance, which is quite a lot to reach that point yet. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed the tips for this week. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like. Once again, that will help me with the YouTube algorithm. And once again guys, thank you, cheers, and see you next week.